unfinished business. When I was a kid, I grew up on a dairy farm, and I always wanted a bit of country, and it just took 2/3 of a lifetime to be in a position to be able to do it. Bought the place in 2000 and was run like a hobby farm because I had another job in town, and we finally moved down here about 2010, so I've been living here about 10 years now. The first few years we're here were extremely dry. We had less than 6 inches of rain per year, so you can imagine it didn't look very pretty. In the situation we inherited, you'd have to call it overgrazed, in a bit of a degraded state, and of course the seasons weren't helping. That first year I had it, I aerial sowed a tonne of Secca and Verano. There was 5 varieties of Secca, Verano and some Wincassia. But when it finally did rain, even though it was 3 years later, these new plants were turning up here and there. That's how we got our tropical legumes started. The real overriding principle is resting country. 80% of this place has got no cattle on it at any one time. The fact the country is resting, your water infiltration is enhanced. Originally, probably 2/3 of our rainfall went down the creek. Well, it doesn't now, it stays here. I've got this place to a point now, we get a response from 1 or 2 mil of rain. We've done a fair bit of fencing in that time as well, and that enables a better process of rotational grazing because you've got animals in a smaller area for a shorter time and then they move on. The other major benefit from this type of process is not just the increases in the species or the number of forage species in your pasture, is the increase in the soil biology. The bacteria and fungi and little animals in the soil, they're the secret to the whole show. If we can look after them, feed them with appropriate animal activity, the rest of it looks after itself. And it really just comes down to moving those animals and leaving appropriate ground cover at all times. Even at the end of the season, when we're waiting for the wet season, I like to have 6 or 8 inches of plant standing in the paddock. And some people would call that wasted grass, but it's the free grass, because as soon as it gets some drain, it's ready to go. Originally, they were 48 months old to be meatworks ready. And the last 3 years, we've been tipping the lead of our steers into meatworks at 30 months. A lot of that's genetic because we've been focused on that as well, but those animals are growing all the time. And the secret to that is having plenty of good quality pasture in front of them. And the secret to that is resting and moving. So they've got a new paddock continually. And the growth rates, when we're green, 2 kilos a day is pretty standard as an average. And that's not too bad here on the coast, I don't reckon. People say, when do you check your forage level in your paddock? I say, every time I open the gate. Every time you're going to check the border, check a mob of animals, you're having a look around, they've got another week here, they've got another 2 weeks, 3 weeks. That's going on all the time. Might put animals in the paddock and say, they've got 6 weeks. But you come back in a fortnight's time or 3 weeks and say, man, they took out more than I expected. They can go now. For me, it is absolutely essential to have that ground cover so that when it does rain, it's got somewhere to go and it's got somewhere to be sheltered from evaporation. You never stop learning. For people that are interested in this type of a journey, there's plenty of educational opportunities to match various levels of interest for graziers, or anybody for that matter. When you have a look at the story they've got to tell, they're all basically telling the same story. Look after your country, keeping a good level of ground cover. You're looking after that soil biology, which in turn is looking after your animals. And the secret is moving your animals. As far as the ongoing education, experience has shown us that one of the wealths of knowledge is sharing things with your neighbours. People will come here today, 2 months' time we go somewhere else. It's not a set format, it's just a day of getting together, having a discussion about what people have been doing, new ideas, or if somebody has got something really interesting to show, go and have a look at it, like a little field day. That works well, and just the fact to get together and have a cup of coffee and a good chat, I'm a really strong believer in that concept for spreading the knowledge and the information. Stewardship would be a legacy. It's communicating with your community, particularly your neighbours, other people that might be interested in what you're doing, but really leaving your country in better condition than when you found it. Legacy sums it up for me.